Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana, and I am so excited to be celebrating 10 years of meaningful conversations with you. As we step into our new primetime hour, it's such an honor to share this exciting new chapter with you. So whether you're starting your day out, headed to work, or listening from wherever you are, this hour is designed to bring you thoughtful dialogue, fresh insight, and inspiring stories so you can make every moment count. So thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive in. We're here today with special guest, Diane Brandon, who's here to share with us her book, Born Aware: Stories and Insights from Those Spiritually Aware Since Birth. So what if your very first memory happened before you were born? Well, today's guest is here to share with us just that. Diane Brandon is an author, integrative intuitive counselor, intuition teacher, business consultant, and speaker who specializes in personal path, growth, and dream interpretation. A former radio host, Diane has been facilitating, teaching, and assisting others in their personal and business lives since 1992 in both private consultations and group classes, workshops, and seminars, helping others to transform their lives into a positive way and to find more fulfillment in life. So welcome to the show, Diane Brandon.
Thank you, Marianne. I am so pleased to be with you.
Oh my goodness. Well, what a great honor it is to have you here and to talk about this book and the work that you do. What had inspired you to write Born Aware?
That is a wonderful question. And it was a message that I was given because I had never shared my memories with anyone else, Marianne. I just never even considered it. And then in the space of about 4 months, and this was back in 2015 or 2016, I had two people independently of each other tell me about their memories. One was in the context of a session, an intuitive session, and the other was in the context of a workshop I was teaching on developing intuition. And so after the first person shared her memories, I thought, okay. And I told her that I remembered what I thought when I was born as well. And then when the second one did, I thought, okay, I'm being given a message here. And I don't need a 2x4. I don't need the proverbial 2x4 to get that I'm being given a message. And so I then embarked on a journey of finding other people who have memories like this and of not only interviewing people, but then trying to digest the information, trying to put it all together and see what I could get from everybody's experiences with regard to common threads, differences, and then what the implications of the phenomenon actually is. I'll share with you, Marianne, that there's another implication of the phenomenon that's a major implication that I did not even think about until sometime, I would say, within the past year. But that's a long answer to your question. I was led. I was given messages.
So, if we really get to the crux of it all, what does it mean to be born aware?
I use the term born aware to refer to people who've always remembered what they thought when they were born, and or even a little bit after the time that they were actually born. And usually what one is thinking about, what one is aware of at birth has to do with spiritual awarenesses. I later learned that some people are born aware and remembering from birth, but not necessarily in a spiritual fashion. So we may be dealing with two different phenomena. But for the purposes of my book, Born Aware, I'm talking about people who have awarenesses that are spiritual. Um, a lot of us remember to varying degrees the other side, not everybody. We all tend to know that we are here temporarily. And when I say here, our souls came here, and our souls do not originate here. Our souls are not attached to being in a human body. So these are spiritual awarenesses, and there are some common threads, but there are also differences from one person to another. So these are memories that we had of birth, or what we thought when we were born, and having retained those memories throughout life. So, for example, we didn't have to try to recover those memories as an adult by regression or meditation or any other means. We've always remembered, we haven't forgotten this. And so we tend to be hybrids. We have a dual awareness. And the one awareness is our human side with our psyche and our emotions and all of that good stuff. And the other, which is the awareness that we're born in, is what I call the higher soul awareness. It's the awareness that the soul has when not here. So when I say we have a dual awareness, I'll back up a little bit. I had always noticed throughout my life that when something happened or something was on the news, I would find myself thinking, well, on one level, I feel this. On another level, I feel this other, often conflicting thing. And something, I did not have that as a question in my list of questions to ask people when I interviewed them. And then I thought, well, maybe I should throw that in there. And everybody experienced the same thing. So I had to chew on what that was about. And then I knew, I mean, it's the one that tends to be more objective, tends to be that is from our higher soul awareness. And then we have, the other side of us, our human psyche. Doesn't matter how spiritually aware we are, we get into the human side once we're here. Often feels something different that may be coming from fears, wants, mindsets, whatever. But that, in a very long nutshell, is what the born aware phenomenon is about.
Were there some common themes that emerged as you interviewed people?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Certainly, the dual awareness, the knowledge that we're not from here and that we will get to go home one day. And that's very strong in some people. A couple of people contemplated suicide just to be able to go back home. We tend to be observers. We tend to be introspective. We tend to have intuitive ability quite naturally, even if we're not aware of it until later on in our lives. There's a long list. We've all known that everything and everyone is interconnected, that the sense of things not being connected is experienced on this level on this planet, but that ultimately everything and everyone is connected. We all tend to have a need for alone time. To a large degree, we tend to have an inner innocence or purity, and to be very, very sensitive. We have to learn, for example, and I think most people are like this who are sensitive. We have to learn boundaries, for example. We tend to love animals. We tend to love nature. Um, we have an inherent sense of right and wrong, and and just are innately whatever term one wants to use, whether it's ethical or conscientious. Um, we tend to be very independent thinkers. We tend to be very introspective. There are other things that we have in common as well. Um, at the same time, there are some differences. Some people had abusive upbringings, and some people did not. Some people were encouraged by their family in their spirituality. Others were not. So there are some differences as well. But the ways, the attributes we have in common, I feel are very, very striking.
It's so interesting because there is this common thought process that we're born as like blank slates. What has your research and the testimonies that you've gathered, how does it challenge that assumption?
Oh, it definitely challenges that assumption. Thank you for asking about that one, Marianne. Um, that usually comes from research from scientists, um, neuroscientists, psychologists. The thinking is based on their research that the brain hasn't developed at infancy to the point where babies can think or perceive, or especially not in complex ways. And that might be true. And this taps on an ongoing um, discussion, also a dispute among scientists as to whether consciousness is just a product of the brain or whether it exists separate from the brain. And what I teased out, the final insight that I had that to me is major, and it was after the book was published, is that the awareness we're coming in with is the awareness, the type of awareness that the soul has. In religious circles, some people talk about the pre-existence of the soul. And my sense is the awareness that those of us who are born aware have at birth have, that's almost proof of the pre-existence of the soul, because the awareness that we're in is the awareness of the soul before the soul even came here. And that's why some of us have memories of the other side. So to me, the born aware phenomenon is helping to prove that the soul already existed. The soul was not created at conception, because humans, I do not feel, create souls. The soul already existed. And of course, with some of us remembering the other side, for example, my first memory was of, I don't want to be here again, because I knew it would be difficult. My strong memory was of being with God, the divine source, on the other side. Very strong connection that is still there. And I knew that would not feel as immediate while I was here. I also knew that on the other side, I had absolute knowledge, and I knew that I could not have that while I was here. I was not happy about that. And that was, again, goes back to pre-existence of the soul on the other side. And of course, I knew, I had to be here because there was something I was supposed to do. So I feel that the born aware phenomenon, if it is looked at, researched fairly and objectively, helps to lend credence to the pre-existence of the soul. And I'm actually now in the process of trying to find scientists to actually research the born aware phenomenon. I've approached several researchers, for instance, into children's memories of past lives or of other paranormal, as they term it, phenomena. But I have not found anybody yet who was ready to take on, that project.
I know, and we lost Walter Simke, who was one of the leading researchers in the past life uh, phenomenon and improving that. So I'm sure it's difficult to find people in that field as with such a powerful amount of research as like he did, or the research that you're doing.
Yes, and I'm not a scientist. I do not have the credibility of a scientist, you know. Um, but I've approached some who I feel would be interested um, once they have the time to look at the phenomenon, to read the book. Um, I've even I've created a listing of salient points, kind of a cheat sheet um, for scientists so that they don't have to read the whole book to get some of the strong points. So, and I've just been doing this, Marianne, in the past couple of months. So I'm planting seeds. They just have not germinated yet. And I feel that they will at some point.
Well, I can't wait till they do because I'm sure you're going to have some just remarkable research and information to share. Is there a story that you can share with us? Because I know you had so many great stories in your book.
Thank you. Oh, where do I even begin? I'll talk about. I had alluded to some of the born awares contemplating suicide, and one of them, Cynthia Sue Larson, um, actually felt that this was the wrong planet for her to be on, when she was born. But she wanted to go home so badly, and I can't remember how old she was. I think it was before the age of 5. I may be wrong on that. And she was actually in the process of trying to figure out how to commit suicide. And she went out front and was looking at the cars passing on the street and was thinking, but if I run out, at this time, that will enable me to go back home. But then, she was told that that was not the thing to do, and so she did not. Um, Another person in my book who is very, very articulate described her her soul and the different lifetimes, because of course from one lifetime to the next we have a different personality, we may be a different gender, we certainly may be living in different countries, different skin color. And I'll just interject that I know a couple of people who remember living on other places in the cosmos, not on planet Earth. Um, and so she described her soul and the different lifetimes, her soul being this big pot, this container that contained all those different lives, different personas, different places. And I thought she put that so beautifully, because as a concept itself, it's hard to grasp that, because we identify so strongly with our personality, with who we are, to actually be able to understand or visualize, grasp that what we're so attached to on this planet, on Earth, and the present lifetime is not really who we are, is only a fraction of what we identify with, that there's something much larger that this is just a small part of, if that makes sense.
It really does. Thank you for sharing that. My goodness. I mean, the work that you've done to bring this book together was just so interesting. How does the born aware phenomenon really kind of differ from experiences reported through hypnosis, regression, or near death experiences?
I do think that it's a different phenomenon, and I'll interject that my sense is in the 20th century, um, there were so many different mechanisms for people to be quote unquote waking up. And certainly the near-death experience is one of them. And that came about only because of increases in technology, advances in technology, medical technology. And so I think near-death experiencers often get to visit the other side. I think that helped a lot of people to wake up and to start to see there's more than this reality. I think when we're regressed, I think it's difficult. It may not have the immediacy. I think the near-death experience does. I feel like it's very real. I remember when I was still living in the Research Triangle in North Carolina, Tom Sawyer, who was a near-death experiencer, who was the first one that researchers knew had actually gone into the light and come back, spoke 2 or 3 different times. I heard him every time. And he was so profoundly moved and changed um, by his near-death experience. He's no longer with us now. Um, so I think that's a little different from regression or meditation, um, because I think other factors may be able to pollute the experience. I think the born aware phenomenon, excuse me, is different because we're entering this planet or coming to this planet as souls in a body, retaining some of the memories of the other side. Not everybody does. It's to different varying extents. And so that's very clear. It's very immediate. I think the human side can influence what is experienced in a regression, in a meditation, because I feel that it's so important to find a way to completely transcend anything on the human level, the human side, this level, this planet, to get the purest information. And so I think that's where we see those differences. I think near-death experiences come the closest, especially if they get us out of the human persona so that we are not having the human side color the experience. Um, so I think they're all opening experiences. I think for a lot of people, meditation, regression allow people to make a first step, put the toe in the water of the possibility that this is not the only reality, that this lifetime is not one's only lifetime or reality. So I think they all are valuable and they all have things to contribute to our unfolding and the enriching of our souls. Um, and I may have a limited view, but I feel that near-death experience changes some people profoundly, and it takes them months or years to really process all of that. Um, I think the born aware phenomenon, it's a little different. It's hard for us as born awares to process having to be here, um, and to acclimate and to learn to be a human and a baby and all of that. Um, I think they're different and they're all valuable. Does that make sense?
It does. And it's interesting. The people that I've talked to who have had near death experiences, or, I mean, I've had hypnosis, I found it to be very profound. Any of those types of like a higher consciousness type of experience, it seems, at least to me, and I'm not saying that I'm an expert on this, but with the folks I've talked with, it seems like it is the experience they have is in direct relationship to the life that they're living here right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it is interesting because when I read your book, it is an awareness that you come in with that is part of who you are as you're here. So they're very much, as I was reading it, like two different phenomena.
Yes, because as we go into hypnosis or regression, we're going in as our human side. Um, and it opens us up to other possibilities. And those of us born aware are coming in from that perspective and having to be opened up to being a human, to being, and yes, yeah, but they're both serve a very useful purpose. I think regression and hypnosis are wonderful. Meditation, I think, has so many positive benefits. Um, and a lot of it has to do with getting out of our box of thinking, our mindset, our perspective, um, to there being so much more. And what's flashing in for me is what Edgar Mitchell experienced. He was one of the first astronauts, and he was on the trip to the moon. And he was so profoundly changed by looking down and seeing what he called the Great Blue Marble, that he was the one who founded Institute of Noetic Sciences. He had a spiritual awakening just from being on the moon and looking down at the earth. And Institute of Noetic Sciences is still around and doing some wonderful work. So different people are opened in different ways, and it's all legitimate. It's all valuable. Um, and this is a time, I feel, of people awakening and getting out of, any small human box, because there is a cosmos out there, and we're all interconnected. And there's nothing really, I don't feel, to fear about exploring spiritually and to opening up. Um, it would be wonderful. Now, I have felt human consciousness shifting in the past 15, 20 years, even with regard to attitudes about animals. I think more people are opening up to connection with animals. Um, and it's all interconnected. Everything and everyone is interconnected. So I'm going to get off my soapbox.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to dive into that. One of the concepts that you introduce in your book is higher soul awareness. What does that term mean, and why is that so important?
The higher soul awareness, and I have tried to tease this out, Marianne, I feel is the awareness that we have as a soul when we're on the other side. And I feel like for those of us born aware, it's a vestige of of that, of where we were. The reason why I feel that being in the higher soul awareness is so advantageous is that we're viewing from a different perspective instead of having this narrow perspective from our human side, which, if you want to get into the psychology, has its fears, its wants, its mindsets and beliefs that limit our perception. They color our perception. We cannot perceive clearly and objectively when we're perceiving through the filter of what I call our personal stuff. The higher soul awareness perceives from a much higher perspective. It is as if you're like Edgar Mitchell, you're somewhere up in the air and you're able to look down on things, situations, people, etc., on the planet from that higher perspective that is very clear and objective. And so this to me, just in and of itself, has a lot of benefits for us. It allows us to see things clearly. It allows us to get out of the box of our personal stuff. And again, it's a vestige that those of us born aware, retain from being on the other side. And it's, to me, it's so valuable. It's so very valuable. I really try to define it better than I just articulated it in my book. And I feel when people talk about being more spiritual or opening up spiritually, I feel that being able to tap into the higher soul awareness can really help people with that. And what I did in the book, in an appendix, was I had a meditation um, that people could use to open to the higher soul awareness. And I also have it recorded um, as available for purchase on my website. Um, but I feel that being able to get into our higher soul awareness brings us so many gifts, spiritual gifts. And I think once we're able to get into that, the ball starts rolling and we open to more and more, just as people who have near-death experiences find their lives changed and opening up more and more, their whole view perspective changes.
So, as you listen to these personal accounts
Mm.
and from your own experiences as well, especially when you dove into consciousness, was there anything that you hadn't understood before that you really had a firm grasp of just by starting this project?
Oh, oh, that's a big question, Marianne.
I know.
That's a
It's
big
put you on
one.
the hot seat, right?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Well, I went from, gee, I have these memories and these two other people have these memories, so I'm being given a message. Um, so let me interview people to, you know, interviewing people, and it's like, I feel that too. I've experienced that too. There was just this connection, just this natural connection with the people that I interviewed. So my understanding of this, because it started out as, okay, I have this memory from birth. So what? Um, to seeing that it wasn't just this memory, it was this huge ball of wax that I was assigned before I came in to exploring and seeing implications and ways in which it could benefit other people. I mean, just the mere allowing people to see that those of us with these memories remember the other side, again to varying extents. And yes, that there is life after physical death on this planet. Your consciousness does not die, your soul doesn't die. Um, so I was seeing how that could benefit other people. And so I went from, and I know I'm not expressing this very well, but just, okay, I'm going to explore this and I'm going to interview Cynthia, for example, and I'm looking for more people to interview, and just, it took on a life of its own. I would never have been able to tell you, Marianne, when I started on this process, whenever that was, 2015 or 16, I'd have to go back and actually look at recordings and when they were dated. Um, I had no awareness of how much there would be in this phenomenon and how it would actually take over my life. Because I now feel that this is my purpose. This phenomenon has so much richness in it that we can learn from. And I'll go back to the higher soul awareness and grooming the higher soul awareness, and because it is a different awareness from just being in the human side and the implications of that. And it has taken off with regard to revealing itself to me. It's the multifaceted nature of it and all the little avenues to explore. And and I love exploring it, and I love, encountering people who have the memories. And since the book came out, I've had several people contact me and say, I have those memories too. Um, so this has been a hidden phenomenon in the world, and I feel like it deserves to be better known and understood because it does have so much that information that can help people, that can benefit people. Um, Certainly has implications for people with children because if your child, I know I was poo-pooed, and some other people in the book were poo-pooed. Our parents thought we were nuts. We were not encouraged in what we were sharing. I remember my mother told me, I can't remember how old I was, that, I was a kook, and the things I came out with, when I was a child were so bizarre. So it has implications for parents as well, that your child is not making things up. Well, this came up with children remembering past lives, that phenomenon. Parents had to learn that, this is valid. And the same is true of this phenomenon because um, some of us weren't aware, felt weird enough to begin with. And then if you have parents who think you're a nutcase or
Yeah.
you're very creative in the things that you say, it doesn't engender um, self-confidence at a young age. That was one of my issues. I had to work on Marianne with self-esteem, of course. But there's so much, and I don't know how much else might be in this phenomenon, that I haven't uncovered yet. Um, but the aha I had, this is just a few months ago, Marianne, when I went, oh, pre-existence of the soul, of course. That's a huge issue in theological circles. So there's a lot in this phenomenon, and it's all benign. It's good stuff. It's not bad.
Well, and there are a lot of people showing up at these experiences, and I want to dovetail to one of the experiences you talked about when we were first starting this discussion, and it was about people feeling like Earth wasn't their true home. What did you learn from these accounts?
Well, they resonated so much, Marianne. They resonated so much, and and different people remember different things. And the interesting thing is, a few people in the book are people I've known for many years, many years. We didn't share our experiences. I'm like, oh, so it was good that I was given these other friends along the way. We had these hidden things in common that we didn't know about. And one of them shared that she remembered picking out her parents, and she really wanted her father to be her father. But she also shared that she remembered being taken by guides. She used the term guides, to other places in the cosmos for training before she came in. Um, that was, I found very interesting that she remembered that. And I was surprised because some people actually looked forward to coming here. And I was like, hell no, I don't want to go.
Like, oh, Earth again.
Yes. Yes. So it's interesting because some souls wanted to come and others were like, uh-uh. And so there's a wonderful variety in what some people remember. One woman, Cheryl, is so connected with nature from the time she was little. She was talking about the environment and environmental issues. And when she goes outside, she can experience um, trees, like breathing. Um, so there's some wonderful insights and experiences that some of the born awares have, but they vary, from one person to the next. One person in the book remembered, and this was, I guess, on the way home from the hospital, that her parents did not put anything over her eyes, and it was sunny out, and she was thinking, "What are these people thinking? Not to cover my eyes." So you wouldn't expect a baby to be thinking, "What are these people?" as opposed to my parents. So there's just, I found a lot of richness um, in people's experiences that they shared with me. And um, I think some people have not liked the fact that I share each person's story, because they find it's, it gets maybe redundant. But I share it because I don't want to pollute what people have shared with me. I want to share exactly, what they shared with me and not color it. But also these are case studies. So I'm presenting them as case studies. And there are a lot of, again, the commonalities, um, but there's some real differences that, things that people experience. Oh, I had to share this one with you. Um, I had mentioned Julie before, who's incredibly articulate, and that she was the one who talked about her soul as being this big pot that all of her different personas from different lifetimes were in. And she remembered being taken, and I think it was before the age of 5. She was in her mother's arms, so it had to have been taken to church. And she was so turned off. She was like, "Mom, really? This?" Because she didn't want all the doctrine, and indoctrination. Um, because some of us with these memories, have those memories of what is truly spiritual, and what may be just doctrine and rules. Um, but there is a lot of attributes in common, and a lot of a lot of variations, and different experiences.
Well, I think it's so just fun to approach your book with such curiosity. I don't personally have any pre-life memories or early memories, but I find it so fascinating for people that do, that remember at either like so pre-life or like being that aware where you're like, oh, my parents are starting me off at church and I just came from such a spiritual place, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Though I was fortunate because I didn't see much conflict between. I was brought up Presbyterian. I didn't see much conflict between what I was taught in church and what I knew, the other side. If anything, I wish churches would encourage their followers more to be able to find a way to open to a personal connection to God, the divine source, whatever term we want to use, um, as opposed to um, being about rules and doctrine.
So, how did all of these interviews that you did really influence your understanding and this really deep connection that we have between spirituality and our everyday lives?
Oh, that's another big one. Um, I feel that I came to learn, and this I have to backtrack just a little bit, Marianne. Um, when I was born, what I thought I was here to do, when I remember thinking there was something I was supposed to do, I thought it had to do with performing. So I pursued acting and singing, and my spirituality was there. But when I was growing up, you didn't hear, aside from church, you didn't hear people talking about personal spirituality or meditation, anything like that. And so it wasn't until I was in my early 20s that I was in a room with other people interested in spirituality or paranormal. And then it really wasn't until I was in my late 30s, I think it was, that I was um, in a group, an organized group. So I think a lot of this has to do, with culture and cultural shifts. And so I think part of that was the time period that one could be born aware and yet not really fully exploring. Now, I knew intuitively when I was little that there was some connection between ESP or psychic phenomena and spirituality. I couldn't have articulated what it was. And when I was an undergraduate in college, I found whatever books I could find on sleep and dream research, and I knew that was connected somehow. But I hadn't put all of that together, and I think part of that again has to do with culture. Um, but I think the born aware phenomenon is just coming out at a time. This is when it's supposed to come out, because again, 20th century, we had near death experiences. We had J.B. Rhine at Duke, my alma mater, um, starting to research ESP. Then he was kicked off campus. He was a psych professor. Um, then we have to start having the near death experience phenomenon. So all of this, when I look at it from a higher level, is all happening, excuse me, at times when there will be more receptivity to it. It's all part of people opening up, because apparently that's where humanity is headed right now, which is a lovely thought. And it doesn't mean that we don't sidetrack from time to time, because we talk about the paradigm shift. And then you have people who don't like these ideas, so you get a backlash. Um, but when I look at it from a higher perspective, from the higher soul awareness, it's all unfolding as it's supposed to unfold. And the born aware phenomenon is one piece of this. So it's almost as if, we can be born aware, but because of the time period, because of what's supposed to happen when, it may not be in full bloom completely. Now, I know I have just jumped all over the place. Did that answer that question or begin
It
to address
did.
it?
Yes, it did. Thank you. Well, Diane, where can our listeners go and connect with you and be part of your community?
Oh, well, thank you, Marianne. My website, which is dianebrandon.com, DianeBrandon.com. And one can email me through my website. I'm on Facebook. My account that I'd had for 16 years was hacked. And so Facebook punished me because my account was hacked and disabled it. So now I've had to finally start a new account, but I'm on Facebook. I'm on Facebook. I don't use Instagram that much. I'm on there, but I don't use it that much. I'm on Twitter, which is now X, LinkedIn, Blue Sky. So I'm findable. I'm not. I'm not hidden.
Well, Diane, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Thank you so much, Marianne. I'm so pleased to have been with you again.
Well, thank you, Diane. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your book, Born Aware. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary. A recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.